We'll open the special council meeting for December 3rd at 4:04 p.m. Please silence your phones and stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Do I hear a motion to adopt the agenda?
I so move.
I'll second.
Motion's made and second. Those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Motion carries. We're going to old business, Lake County law enforcement. And I've been talking with Roberta on this. And right now, we're making an agreement that it's gonna take several months to do this, if not up to a year, depending on how quick we get things moved along. So, Roberta, you wanna explain what you've come up with so far?
Well, as you know, at our last council meeting, we had a couple applicants that were interested in moving here that would be fulfilling a job as chief in an officer or a supervisor position. I did the background check on both the applicants and neither one passed the background check. And we've been working on trying to get a chief here for a year, pretty much, and have not been successful in that. I think that we've pretty much exhausted our I mean, I've tried everything I can. I don't know what else to do. At this point, you know, we need to have law enforcement in town and we need to have a direction. And the council has, you know, said either, you know, try it for our own police chief. If that didn't work, then, you know, pursue this other avenue of having the county take over. At this point, that's our option. I don't know that there's another option. I really, truly don't.
You spoke of a year or a month, a few months. And so if it takes that long, do you stop all recruitment locally and you
Pursue. But some of the things that, you know, need to be pursued, because we do have, can't get this recorder to work. She said, just hit record. It's not recording. Anybody smarter than me, Mike?
I
don't know.
think
I mean, you're all smarter than me. I cannot get it to work. Anyway, if, I don't think we would pursue any more recruitment of our own. That wouldn't make sense.
What about the man who's in training now, or who goes on 10th?
Right, goes on the 10th and he will be absorbed by the sheriff's office and stuff.
Okay. I guess my main question, if I may maybe, so it takes up to 3 months to a year. Well, what's required for that period of time? Do we do a separate agreement for them to continue to do coverage?
They would have to do that.
And we, you know, subsidize it in some way or something, because
I don't think it will take up to a year, but I think that it'll take 2 or 3 months.
it's gonna take up to a year to get it to work.
One of the things that people need to realize is that the police department has a union. We have employees in our union. It's the same union as the sheriff's office, but it has to be a transfer. And so those details need to be worked out. So, and then we need to talk about things that are, okay, so right now, our police department pays a portion of the building over there. So if we don't have anybody in that, you know, who's gonna pick that up? If it's just fire, dispatch, you know, those type of things. What's gonna happen to dispatch? Those are all those things that need to be discussed at length.
What about insurance as well?
On the building?
No, for our employees,
Right.
we've been carrying
Right.
certain coverage, but
Right.
since none of ours are transferring, do we have to worry about getting that coverage thing? Because I know when public health is transferred to the hospital, there were all kinds of things, details of employment that had to be dealt with.
And that's exactly why it's gonna not be tomorrow, but it's gonna be.
We can start it, but we're not going to be able to have it all.
Oh goodness, no, because there's so much more, and there's so much more with the building and 911 and, you
A
know,
whole room of evidence over
Yeah.
there that's gonna have to be.
transferred over. Yeah,
Yeah.
Well, when I talked with Sheriff Taylor, his plan was to move emergency management services over there, Daniel Tag, and into where the police office is now,
Well, we would have to discuss that, I think.
so.
But I
And that building would still be under our control.
Yeah.
There's so many details,
Yeah.
I don't mean to cut you off,
No, that's
Mike,
but
but
that,
we're talking about a lot of stuff right now, and it's
Yeah.
all.
We all have to work.
We all know
What
everything.
and what the sheriff's been
This,
asking
I think
for a
this is
while.
where the 3 months
Good
to a year
motion.
come in, on supposed to be where
Mhm.
the iron limit.
But I think it's important that we get the word out to our public that, yes, this is something that we are pursuing because it does make the best sense, but they have to understand this isn't going to be like that there are so many details that have to be taken care of. But in our own best interest, we have to have a working agreement for coverage in that meantime.
right.
So,
Well, and right now, like I said, you know, whether it's, you know, because of having the unions working, you know, this
Yeah.
transferring, I don't even know, because I have offered Sheriff Taylor, you know, some funds to help pay for, you know, some of this. And he has not accepted that yet.
I mean,
but
in the
he may-
interim.
Yeah, he may now, when he knows we're headed that direction. I'm just not sure, so.
In this time period, I just would like to say I'm going to be here for the remainder of this month as a town councilor after 10 years, and just as a look back on the situation and what it's grown into and the situation moving forward with the county, I think is what needs to be done. But I would recommend to the council, whether something is done in 2 months, 3 months, or a year, that you take a big, long look at the town of Lakeview and the possibility, as was spoken by Sheriff Taylor, of after 5 years, taking back the law enforcement into the community as a unit. I don't think that that will be achievable through the sheriff's plan, and there have been other plans presented to the council. We shoved them aside. Officer Steve Yates, our former state policeman Steve Yates, gave us an idea of what he felt was a better synopsis for the town of Lakeview to identify its own police and law enforcement division while working under the supervision of the county sheriff. And so I just would recommend that the town take a big, long look at this in the future as you make the big decision, because this town has had a law enforcement unit for a long time, and to give it up, it's kind of tough, and I think it will show when it happens. And we'll go through some growing pains, and things will, I'm sure, work out in the long run, but I just recommend that you take a look at all different avenues, because I think there are a lot of agreements, and just because the county or the sheriff came to us with one agreement, that's not what you have to take. Please look at it. Other communities, that's all I have to say.
Well, that was my thought too, is after 5 years, if we can take our own department back, let's do it. You know, get back to where we should be. Have
Well,
our own department, they have the sheriff.
I think the way that it's been drawn out, I think that would be almost impossible at that point, once
Right.
it's become just a solid unit of the county. If it's got its own separate identity, its own units roll around, and that division that the sheriff speaks of between 9th Street and the south end of town, I know the council has looked at annexation, and I think it will happen. I don't know when it will happen, but there will be no more division in the town of Lakeview. That division will no longer be seen. All of the enforcement division of Lakeview proper will take care of that, and so there's no need for the county to continue with those services at that time. So I've said enough. After 10 years, I'll shut my mouth.
Well, I think what you're saying is after, that we should be able to, or the council, whoever is on council, be able to look at sooner than 5 years to decide what they would like to change. plus, and the separation, as Steve Yates talked about, as far as being under one supervisor, as I understand, I haven't read that contract that he talked about, but it would still be two separate departments, but under one supervisor.
And my contribution, I think that whatever happens between the county and the town in the law enforcement thing, we are going to have a contract, and that contract has to be exceptionally well drawn. And it's got to protect the county. I don't know if anybody else has experienced this, but every time I've been a part of a group that has joined forces with Klamath Falls or Bend or Burns or something, Lakeview gets ignored, and all the money and all the support goes to somewhere else. And I don't know that that will happen, but we have to have a contract that's going to keep that from happening. And we have to realize that just like with the council, just like with our own people, the commissioner changes, the sheriff changes. And so you have to be aware that when somebody new comes on board, they have to respect that contract. They have to see those really very strict decisions on the fact that Lakeview, we're the big population. We need a bigger share maybe of the law enforcement at times. And that has to happen, or else it's not going to work for us, and we're paying for something we aren't getting. So I think the contract and making sure that what we get is effective, and that the change in personnel doesn't destroy the whole thing. That's my 2 cents. Maybe it's only worth it.
You said that we need to protect the county? You had said that.
What?
You said protect the county?
Oh, I don't really care about protecting.
I think you meant the town. I just wanted to get it on my notes.
Yeah, protecting the town,
Okay.
protecting the
I
town.
was trying to write what you're saying.
Yeah, well, that was totally a oops.
I know, but I can't unoops it.
No, the county will take care of protecting themselves well enough. They always will. But, so we have to be very careful with our contract and with supervision of that contract.
Okay, anybody else?
That I worked on the 911 Intergovernmental Committee for a long time, and I just will say another word of advice in regards to that, because it is an integral part of what is fixing to happen in the town of Lakeview. That's, you work very closely with all of the districts involved. There are a lot of districts, not just the town and the county. It needs to be something that can be worked out among all of the fire districts that are represented at the IGC 911, and of course those 911 monies are administered through that committee and are funding the 911 dispatch and what have you, and the way that it goes down is important to the community and to the county and to those districts. So please keep that in mind as you work forward on that. It's something that's very important. I'd like to see our dispatch stay in our community, no matter who is running it, because I think if it becomes Bend or Harney County or Klamath County, whatever it might be, that you will lose a lot more.
I agree with you.
I can't say that we'll lose we can still maintain our dispatch under the town. There will be certain things in there that we'll have to have the county oversee, but I can't see why we can still operate the way we're operating.
As a 911 fire,
Yeah, as a standalone, like Klamath does, or several other communities, they're a standalone agency. Yes, the lead's part of it and the sieges part of it is kind of administered under the law enforcement, but there's no reason why we shouldn't be able to maintain the system that we have now.
As long as that can be worked out as far as the insurance coverages and what have you between the county and the town, or whomever is running a special district, whatever is formed in that regard. So,
one thing, if I can, that we need to consider, we talk about maybe a 5-year contract. Once we lose the infrastructure of the PD, we vehicles, all the assets that we have, we're gonna be over a barrel somewhere where, so I don't know if there's something where you'd wanna hold on to some of that before you would, for time to see where things are going, in case you ever want it back. Otherwise, the cost to get it back is gonna be tremendous.
Well, and that's important to point out too, because I know we were presented by the sheriff and the county, the expenditures of running the cost up per individual that would be serving our community, and at the same time, there are through different grants availabilities of those police units that are exorbitantly high listed on there to outfit and everything. So like you say, Dennis, those things are very important as far as assets.
I think it's just something to keep it on and not get rid of the foundation of the police department, and, as soon as this goes through, in case they decide 5 years from now they don't want it.
We have no staff cars, we have no radios, we have no anything.
Weapons.
Because one of the things Sheriff Taylor said was that one of the ways we could fund what this extra amount of money that it's going to cost to go this way, and I hope that the community understands that this is a lovely solution, hopefully, to our law enforcement problem, but it is not going to be cheap, and it's going to cost us more to go with the county and the sheriff's office. New vehicles, new equipment, new uniforms, new everything that they're going to be charging us for. But one of the things he said, in order to build up our own reserves is we could sell all of our equipment and everything and reap those, monies back to some degree. But you're right, if we get rid of everything, very difficult decision to make in 3 to 5 years.
It's hard to negotiate a contract down the road when you don't have anything
We don't really know what's going to happen.
Okay, so I guess we need a consensus to tell Roberta to move forward with it.
Well, we need to take a formal vote, I believe.
Need a motion?
Okay, do I have a motion?
Well, I move the town council vote to direct the town manager to explore an intergovernmental agreement transferring the jurisdiction of the town of Lakeview Police Department to the Lake County Sheriff's Office.
I'll second that.
Motion's made and seconded. Those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Motion passes. Do we have anything else?
Someone has a question.
Oh, yeah.
I just have a question. I'm just curious, and I may be way off track, I might not understand, but is there any way to have our own law enforcement per se with the sheriff's department administering it so that we have our own infrastructure in place and do a contract that way?
That's what Mike was talking about.
Right.
Yeah.
It all needs to be explored, and I would hope
Yeah,
that
we
your
haven't,
council
yeah.
will look at
Okay.
that.
You're right, it should be one of the
And
concepts
that way
on
you
the
still have,
table.
that way it'd be easier to split off down the road if it was necessary.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else under old business? Do we have anything under new business?
Not yet.
Okay. Nothing under new business, then I guess we will adjourn the regular council meeting at 4:22.